but
Yeah,
we'll see what
and
5
it's
and
also
minus can do.
just like item wise as well. As soon as you get the Ags on the Void Spirit, you usually are getting your BKB on Ember at pretty much the same time. So
Yeah.
the Ember just ends up not caring, and just having a BKB timing on your mid laner just feels really good. And I think that's something that Ravens has kind of done well pretty much the entire tournament. It always feels like every single time they have an item power spike, it's never just one hero that's lagging behind. It's always getting a two or three at pretty much the same time, and then they just kind of push for an advantage that they never really lose or haven't lost just yet. And Luna is an intriguing pick. I feel like if that is going to be a Visage offlane, you've got a pretty high base damage hero, not to mention paired with the Enchantress. That's a lot of harass that's going to end up to that Visage Doom lane. At
10
the same time, though,
seconds.
I don't know, I'm a Luna skeptic. I know that that hero kind of lost its
5
only viable playstyle in
seconds.
the previous patch. Of course, you talk about the shard change, you talk about it moving to a 20 talent that's just straight up worse than the shard. I don't know. I still think Luna's in a little bit of a
10
tough spot in where she kind of lies in the meta. And you got to be really careful with your bans on 5ManMidas, because if you whiff on, let's say, a Morphling ban, I feel like Ravens just pick it up and then suddenly your Luna's not a hero.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's still a lot of cores in the pool that do win the Luna matchup. Terrorblade already removed, the Morphling still available. They could honestly opt for like a sniper, even a hero that just Luna has
10
no ability
seconds
to fight
remaining.
into as well. So there's just like a lot of different options here for them.
5
They have
seconds.
super tanky heroes that can go in and out of the fight, the Visage, the Doom, the Ember Spirit. It gives you a lot to work with. The Luna is one of those heroes that like I think is a little bit different in her playstyle. Like because like you said, the shard's worse. She doesn't really have like the same type of playstyle. But one thing that a lot of people forget is just how strong she is for the lane stage once it hits that 5 minute nighttime mark, because then you have hopefully those 3 points in the lunar blessing for all of your lanes, and everyone has just a lot more damage to work
Time
with,
to battle.
and it does definitely end up being a major factor.
Yeah, I feel like the most successful Luna I've seen after the patch that changed the Axe Shard was probably
¡Oh,
Yamsun.
por
I think he's the one
Dios!
that just, instead of trying to play for his own game, just ends up showing up to
Yep.
mid tower fights at like 10,
10
15 minutes
seconds.
and plays it almost like a pseudo juggernaut where you're just there in an early
5
team fight just
seconds
trying to make the
remaining.
most of your hero. Because eventually, unfortunately, because you don't have that easy build up, I feel like every Luna has to go for the Manta build instead, which is not bad by any means. And I like that they hit on the Morphling ban
Yep.
there. Felt like that would have been really bad,
It would have been
but
super
because you have to go for the
bad.
Manta, you do have, you're playing with a Manta. You have to play for a new stat item. You can't just go Manta BKB and then expect to win a game. It feels like you do need maybe a little bit more stat wise. Now the question here
10
for Ravens:
seconds
do
remaining.
you just slam a hero that builds Scotty? Do you look kind of in your back
5
pocket? I don't
seconds
want to,
remaining.
hazard to say they pick a hero like Medusa, but that's the age
Yeah.
old counter, kind of the older pick versus Luna. But Medusa has really fallen off, even though yesterday got a respect ban, which was kinda interesting.
It did, yeah. That being said, it was against, someone who just like spams Medusa in the past, so it kind of makes sense.
True.
I do like sniper here personally. Like, I don't know what you do on 5 Man Midas if they just pick a sniper. Like, you could try and come up with something for the off lane, but there's not a lot of good options
Guns
here.
choose.
Okay,
Drow
Mm,
similar.
Ranger.
They go with the Drow Ranger. I actually think, I don't know. I'm not a huge Drow fan personally, but uh, it does win the Luna matchup pretty hard.
oh, yeah, no, and I know people that would say it's absolutely unplayable. All it takes is for the Drow Ranger to get a
10
BKB, and then
seconds
suddenly Luna
remaining.
has nothing going for her, and if this does become a case where Luna has to go
5
for the Ags build,
seconds.
it's tough, and I think that's where 5Man Midas, even though they had a nice kinda trifecta of, mid bans coming into that second phase, it does feel like this Luna maybe didn't have enough time to breathe, and then you kinda still got counterpicked at the end of the day here, and I don't feel like Nengo Flow is also upset with what he got ended up
Not
playing.
at all.
So, it's a little bit tough here. And now if you're 5 man, what is gonna be your offlaner to kinda save the day? Because you have a Hoodwink lane, you're gonna have to pick probably a melee 3 here just so you have somebody to stand in front of the Luna. Otherwise, that's where I think Ravens already have a little bit more structure in their lineup. And
The
Mars.
okay,
Mars.
it's very simply just the Mars.
Await the
Yep. I
It's
ultimate.
just
mean,
one
it's
of those
easy.
heroes, yeah. Beats the Drow. It always been like one of those like good heroes into the Drow Ranger, but I don't know if it's enough, to be honest. Like, I'm not a huge fan of this offlane like Hoodwink Mars combo into the Drow. I feel like Drow is still gonna have a pretty good lane, but we'll see what Kara can do on the Crystal Maiden. It is a double range lane, so harass sticks a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's where fortunately for Benjaz, he gets to, maybe ignore it. Poor Dismar though. This is another lane I think where he's just set up for failure pretty much right off the bat. He's just gonna
Yeah.
get kind of hit over and over and over again. At least he's got a little bit more armor to play around with. That was always the sad part of old Doom was having no armor, which was always funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think Ravens have a lot of things going for them in this draft. I think the Mars is going to give you some of that agency that we always talk about with NA teams, just picking up as many tools that they can, especially pre 15 minutes where you can just make something happen on the map. But as we usually talk about with 5ManMidas, this game is kind of going to be up to RRL to get things moving. I think having this Void Spirit, just making those clean rotations. If Nengo Flow's just going to farm, then you're going to have to see that Void Spirit really gun everywhere. That's also where 5ManMidas support rotation wise. Again, every single rune, every spirit versus spirit matchup, you have to get those supports involved. If they ever start to drop the ball, that's where you could really start seeing a problem for them.
I'm actually a little bit worried about the Drow Ranger, because like it is a pretty rough matchup into the Void Spirit. Like something like a sniper doesn't care all that much because it naturally builds like BKB. You can go Satanic. You can get a bunch of like items where you just stand your ground. You don't really lose your damage. Whereas the Drow Ranger, right, you do end up kind of losing stuff in the process where, you know, if he's able to get on top of you, a ton of your bonus damage is gone. Finally, loading in. We've almost got it, man. Are you ready?
Honestly, I'm ready. I just hope the teams are ready. Maybe this is just an elaborate mind game. Maybe Feeling G could never show up to the lobby, and Luminel is just always going to be waiting in the wings. And now Ravens are off their game. Who knows, right? You can never tell.
That's a tinfoil hat scenario you're pulling out there.
I mean, it's just with how this is all shaped up. You know, you can never trust anybody nowadays. Everybody just wants to win, but that's also where I still think, and I'm still going to stick to my guns here, Raven do have a pretty good thing going for themselves here, and it is going to be 5ManMidas having some pretty exceptional individual performances to keep themselves up together, because everything we talked about before is still true. They're still really weak to BKBs. They still need to have a really clean game. They still need to get a lot of farm out of these lanes and then turn that into something else. Otherwise, Ravens, they're just in that position that they've been in pretty much all week, where if they just farm, they're fine. They're happy with going late. They'll get more out of the map than you, and then they'll just kind of win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what happens here. It should be a fun game, nonetheless. But Ravens, for those of you who don't know, who haven't been watching the last couple days of the BTS Pro Series, Ravens are currently sitting at 4-0. They have managed to take down every single opponent in every single game. So 5ManMidas, they've got their work cut out for them here today. Should we talk about the lane matchups? Because it is going to be the Drow and CM bottom into this Mars Hoodwink. And this lane, I feel like Mars should suffer a little bit, but I feel like a couple bracers and he's chilling.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Can't really ever force him out either, and I know a lot of Mars is in this kind of situation. Sometimes they just get the value point in Bulwark, just having a little bit of that damage reduction, in which case you can't really get forced out of the lane, but that's what we'll have to see, because, I don't know, it's a tough choice to make, and you never want to jip yourself for damage, especially with how tight his damage kind of is here, but that's where I think very simply, if Lumi can just keep those pulls going, especially if Lumi can get a double stack of the large camp, you'll see a pretty big problem happen. Anytime the Dan's lane is super far up, you're going to see that Drow just more likely get picked. As a lot of damage getting traded, though, and that's what Lumi does have to be careful of. Not the fastest squirrel in the world, and he does have to be pretty close to both the Drow and the CM for those trades to actually happen.
Yeah, he will find that hard camp did get blocked, so he may go ahead and try and deward that, but I don't think they can really apply much pressure to the Drow Ranger here. Like, she should be able to farm pretty much freely. Kara just gonna try and kind of bait them out a little bit, but they are doing a really good job at just targeting the Hoodwink. I think you're right. They can't really shove Lies out of the lane, but they can definitely shove this Hoodwink out of the lane.
Yeah, it's also just picking on the sand, and, you know, not the nicest thing in the world, but that's also where we've continuously seen already this week. CM just is so effective at winning those trades. It's just hard. She just does so much with the Crystal Nova, and unless you are hitting those two-man bushwhacks, it's very difficult to ever win those engagements. Not to mention, Kara's 4 mangoes. He is ready to spam you out. He is not really going to take any prisoners here.
This is what we've been seeing, right? Every single CM coming to lane, just triple Iron Branch, quad mango. It's actually hilarious that this is just like the efficient build on this hero.
Yeah, it just works. It just makes it so impossible to trade. But that's where I think maybe in the next level we'll see more aggression coming out from really both sides. But until then, kind of playing that waiting game. And Kara even passively skilled up his Arcane Aura, not
Yeah.
the spammy
It's
build
not
that
the
we're used to
aggressive
seeing.
one. Yeah, I was gonna say what we've been seeing a lot are people like playing around that level 2 power spike of just getting frostbite and trying to instantly kill a hero, but he just opts for the aura, which makes Drow's life easy. She never has to worry about frost arrows like dropping her out of mana range.
And we'll see. Because I don't know, I'm still looking at this bottom lane. Couriers get delivered. Lumi's still unable to get that block or the unblock going. So the wave is just constantly getting shoved into the Mars until that CM rotates towards the small camp, which he will find is also blocked. But at the same time, I think the Mars is extremely happy with the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about mid. We haven't really addressed the lane quite yet, but the Ember Spirit off to a great start. 22. Well, bottom lane, they lose the Drow. I don't know why I bothered looking at mid lane. I knew no heroes would die there, but we did get one of the kills. First blood goes to Benjaz on the Visage to take down Skyward's Enchantress, and then Drow ends up falling bottom, just coming a little bit too far forward. But this is kind of what you're talking about. Mars super happy with the positioning of the lane.
Yeah, and I think that's where even though Lumi wasn't able to unblock his large camp just yet, it's just where the small camp is equally as blocked. So unless you're getting that fix, you're just not doing anything. I think Lumi might be looking for a deny under tower. He's kind of
might just get Skyward again.
Yeah, or Argus
very
turn on him.
Close. They'll turn onto Dismar. He has mana for a Soul Assumption in one, and he gets the kill onto Luna. Has a wand as well, but does not want to chase after the Enchantress. Just going to hold off onto that. And Benjaz, another fantastic start for him on the Visage.
Yeah, I feel like every time we look up at Benjaz's lane, even if Dismar is going down, a solo kill for Visage, he's level 4.5, 4 minutes into the game. He's going to be 6 before we can really get ready for that. And then, well, Luna has to go. Argus has to rotate away. At least he has a raindrop now to get some of that damage from Soul Assumption kind of knocked away, but this is not what you really want to see for Benjaz kind of snowballing out of control already.
Yeah, not at all. Well, Doom says, don't mind if I do. Yoinks the Chain Lightning.
Uh-oh.
He's going to use to chase Skyward instead. Benjaz be able to follow him up here through the trees. And with that spell spam, one more Arc Lightning. Gets the Soul Assumption, but a nice raindrop there to keep him alive once again. And it is a value item in this lane.
No, it definitely is. And thankfully, they do get to just TP back and buy it. One of those sad things where sometimes those couriers on the sidelines delivering those raindrops just come a little bit too late. Even though Dismar with the Chain Lightning can just pop it, which is kind of annoying for Argus, but at the same time, you know, we'll see.
Actually, yeah, it does. Oh, he's actually, that's pretty smart. Argus backpacked it to dodge the proc of the
chain lightning spam.
The chain light. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, how did that not pop there? But he backpacked the raindrop.
No, he knows. They both know. They both know their play.
But overall, I do want to try and talk about mid lane if we can get just a second, as Nangoflo is now level 6 on the Ember Spirit, 40 lasted, so 24 of the Void Spirit. So he is off to a fantastic start. Did go the Sleight of Fist build with that Orb of Corrosion, so that damage is just too much for the Void Spirit to kind of sustain the lane. That's what we really see a lot of the time with this matchup. But it's the 6-minute runes. You talked about this endlessly, how important it is for everyone to rotate. And it's going to be Dismar who grabs it top a regen rune. He'll be able to push Skyward away once again.
Oh, okay.
Did Arl just
Nangoflo didn't
double?
want it. Yeah, he used both of them, so I thought maybe Nangoflo would have gone for the dive there, but I think possibly fearing the TPs and knowing underneath tower, of course, you get the additional armor, so Slight wouldn't have done as much damage, but yeah, he just had to do that, nuked away, but now there's going to be a cart wave under the tower here.
Okay, bottom lane. They managed to grab Crystal Maiden as well as the Courier. And like you said, Nangoflo working on the mid tower. Orb of Corrosion plus Catapult. That stuff adds up. But that is really struggling on the Drow Ranger. Lies is almost level 6. The Drow just hitting level 5. So this Mars is going to have a lot of kill threat here in just a matter of moments.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, it's kind of a part of that damage that you're getting from that Lunar Blessing at night. I mean, he's got 74 plus 40, which is, you know, trumping over the Drow Ranger. I feel like that's at least a little bit of why the CS has kind of moved in two different paths here, but that's where it's all a matter of how he breaks his level 6 as Lumi.
Ooh, that's the spear. They have an acorn shot in too. Dad probably should go down here. Absolutely. That's what we're talking about, man. That Luna Blessing. It is... She's not in lane, but she has 3 points of it. Just 20 damage global.
And that really is the change that I think a lot of people don't respect, is that it is just global now, which means that, yeah, this happens. Lies even doesn't have a point in his 6 just yet because he wants more in the rebuke as top lane. Unfortunately, Skyward gets taken down, but that's just going to happen. BTS is level 6. He doesn't really care anymore.
I am really surprised he doesn't have the arena, but based on his item build, it makes sense, right? A lot of people are kind of opting away from the Soul Ring just because of how expensive the item is for what you get out of it, and are opting for more like smaller, like, or just other items that also provide mana regen. The Falcon Blade is, I think, one of my favorite items of the patch right now. And then just like a raindrop is usually enough to sustain most heroes at this point, which is good. I like it.
Look at this. This is a collapse. RL's trying to get here in time. He's going to have 2 jumps in a sec. But he actually decides to veer off. So he's saying, Lumi, it's all on you. But I don't think they're going to get that now.
Yeah, they don't. Not at all. Kara's out. Meanwhile, BTS, completely free farming the top lane, takes the tier 1 tower. And on his way to his Vlads and eventual Wraith Pact. So this is a beautiful game for the Visage.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if he does start to be that hero that just takes over everything, because Dad is forced to jungle at just barely getting level 6 here, and he also has 2 supports kind of closing in on him, even though he's got a good ward.
RRL gonna be forced back to base once again here. Meanwhile, deep in the jungle, the Remnant in here from Dango Flow gets the chains out onto the Enchantress as the Drow helps with that assist, and Skyward, it should just be a matter of time here. Yeah, one more Sleight of Fist, a double kill for the Ember, and he is having a fantastic game. I mean, I feel like I've just been saying every hero on Ravens is having a fantastic game.
Yeah, the only one that is struggling is just that Drow Ranger.
Yeah.
But of course, as we always talk about, if one person is struggling, then the other side is excelling, and that's where BTS is still that monster, and they want to kill on him. They're keeping everybody mid.
RL comes in. The drop there from the birds. The Spirit comes out, only catching the Doom, but RL jumps in deep, trying to take down Kara. Does manage to finish him off, but Dad here on the Drow picks up the kill. That's going to be her level 6 as well, so very difficult to fight into the Drow now. I mean, that is a super worthwhile trade. Not only do you get the Void Spirit, but you get the arena cooldown as well.
Yeah, it was just a little bit too long of a TP. I think they staggered things a little bit too hard there, and then without getting that prioritization of the Mars's TP, the arena comes just a second too late. You aren't able to chain it up, and then he just simply walks away. That wasn't even with his birds clipping onto the Mars. They were both missed stuns, but just ended up not mattering. And now you've got a cart, so 5ManMidas walked too far away from this mid tower because they all just TP'd. It's going to take a little bit more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. BTS is just doing such a good job at pressuring the map. Bottom lane, speaking of pressure, Lies feeling it from the Ember Spirit. He somehow splits the trees there. Doesn't end up getting stunned, but it's all right. Gets him away at least.
Somehow even more difficult than just getting the spear.
Dude, there's certain times where like because I've played a decent chunk of Mars. There's certain times where I'm like, I wouldn't be able to do that again. Like in missing certain spears or like splitting between certain trees. I'm like, the amount of skill it took to miss that spear is incredible. Mid lane, they've got the Doom. They drop it onto the Void Spirit. That's all you need. And it's one of those things where this early in the game, absolutely throw that Doom to get that Void Spirit. Late game, you're probably going to be targeting heroes like the Luna, just to make sure she doesn't get to like really enter the fight. But right now, Void Spirit's the playmaker. You said it. RRL's got a lot of stuff he has to do, but now he is bottom of the net worth chart in terms of the cores.
Yeah, no, he's struggling, and now you look at this mid tower defense, neither of your supports really have all too much wave clear here. And Lumi, he knows he has to be so careful with his usage of that Bushwhack, because as soon as that spell's on CD, his opponents can get even crazier. Kara, Yeah.
You know, he thought he
insane
could go
now.
for it. He might regret it. There's gonna be the spear. They have the sharpshooter, but they've got to find the damage, and it just barely misses.
Oh,
And
no.
now RRL is in with no cooldowns, but a nice arena. It's the sleight of fist from Nango Flow. Helps finish him off. Lies. Does he have the damage to take down Ember? It doesn't look like it. He's gonna be able to survive. And another disaster here for 5ManMidas in the mid lane. 2 cores for another support.
You're just getting outplayed a little bit here, and now you're just gonna get the bottle refill, you get the remnant reset from the Ember, and then all they can do is deny the tower and then immediately run away. But man,
This
yeah,
whole
that
fight's
Void
without the
Spirit
drought.
game. Yeah, no, it's without the drought, of course. It's without the Luna either, but the Luna's had to TP away from the drought because it just is an unlaneable circumstance. So even the Luna is being shoved away, and Argus has not had any real free time in that triangle just yet, and there's no stacks either. It just feels like 5Man aren't really finding that comeback method just yet.
Yeah. Up in the dire jungle, though, they're just starting. See, this is the thing with Radiant is once you get this top tower, if you can just control the dire jungle, you're so much better off because it's so easy to farm. And Benjaz is just really showing that as he is just towering over everyone in net worth right now. And he just feels so safe as well, being the Visage.
Yeah, and of course, until you get, you know, items like the BKB, the Wraith Pact is always going to reduce the damage that you're doing on the 5ManMidas side. I don't even know if they can get through Gravekeeper's Cloak, really. It's just such an obnoxious spell. And the support levels, they're also starting to subside. It's where they really just need to find kills of any sort. And unfortunately, that's where you look at heroes like the Mars and Lies and his Blink Dagger timing, and then you realize that there is no Blink Dagger timing. He is not even looking at a Blink Dagger. He's
No,
trying to
not
get
even
this
close.
Lads to hope for maybe some type of push, some type of way to enable the Luna, but it just means that it is, again, all going to be on that Void Spirit to start every team fight. It's just a tough build order.
Yeah, it's gonna be a minute before that like really takes over. They do manage to like commit. You know, they bring 4 heroes to the bottom lane to get this tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, you know, Ravens recognize it. They just say, you know, screw it. We'll split up, farm more of the map, and they're actually gonna try and farm Roche on as Benjaz walks into the pit here. Drow has that Dragon Lance now completed. Now, are you part of the Ag Shard camp here with Drow Ranger? How do you feel about the Ag Shard?
It's good. I don't know if
right?
I don't know if you buy it for yourself. Yesterday I was talking a lot about, you know, preemptively buying Ag Shards because of how strong they are. I feel like it's an Ag Shard that you don't need to play the game just because Drow Ranger needs so many items to play just kind of by default.
Yeah.
But it is good. It is undoubtedly good. I don't think it's a rush thing, but it's definitely something that you play for, and especially in the Luna matchup, if you're ever looking at any type of lifesteal, it just makes Argus life even more impossible, right?
Yeah. Interesting. So I'm part of the like hits 15 minutes. You have your like one agi item, which is either Dragon Lance or Yasha, and then I believe like it is just rush.
And then immediately buy it.
I think like you immediately buy the shard as soon as you can after your first item. It's kind of like buying Maelstrom on like other cores, like things like imagine Clinks like playing without Maelstrom. That's what it feels like when you play this hero without the shard.
You know, I bet with CM it's a whole lot better because there is something really annoying about not having the mana aura and then having to get a full multi-shot with the arrows going as Hoodwink ties mid, but no, it's a close call. But I think that's also where once Thad gets his BKB, though, the game is done for him.
Remember we said last time about Doom having a really early Blink Dagger? Well, he has another early Blink Dagger, and RRL finding that first hand as Dismar gets him with the Doom right away.
Yeah, and I mean, even looking at Dismar, I think he's got 5 less deaths than the last Doom game, you know, something like that. So he's kind of off to the races, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a 15-minute Doom Blink with Tranquil Boots. Like, you just don't really expect that. Visage falling
really.
super low top. I guess just tanking the tower.
Yeah, he's trying to keep that card alive as long as he like realistically could. Something that Benjaz was also doing yesterday. It's kind of crazy, but works.
Yeah, you got Tranquil Boots as well, so as well as the Wraith back to aura, so he's gonna heal this off like pretty quick. Not really worrying about it. Overall, though, mid lane, it's just getting worse and worse for Void Spirit as he gets picked off once again. He just doesn't have a game. Like, RL can't do anything. He's trying his best. He's trying to get to this Witchblade, but it feels like every opportunity... I mean, he doesn't even have these opportunities, I guess. They're just, like, kind of sacking his game to make space for the Luna. Miel top lane. Get chased down here by the Visage. Good micro there from Benjaz. And another kill for the side of Ravens. 14-6, a 4K gold lead.
It's tough, and you do see that little bit of a gap. The Luna can just naturally farm a little bit faster, but Argus needs to find a successful team fight with this BKB that he's been building up this entire time, and he is not gone for the Manta build. He is not gone for the, I'm going to farm, I'm going to play for more delayed timings. He has pretty much said, I'm going to stick my head in a team fight with BKB, and I'm either going to die after the fact, or I'm going to kill everybody with my Eclipse, and then that's going to look good for me. Unfortunately, though, that's coming at the same time as pretty much the BKB on that Ember Spirit, so it's got to be a successful team fight onto the Drow Ranger. But there's still no Blink on Mars. We're still 1,000 gold away from that. So again, it's going to be Void Spirit finding the Drow, finding the Eclipse on the Drow, and then that's your one team fight for 5ManMidas. And until that circumstance happens, there's just not much you can do here. And Dismar, whoa.
He just jumps in, doesn't care. Mars gets the arena, will pin that Doom into the wall. Flies, falling low and fast, but can they even finish off the Doom? They need one more auto attack, and they do get it. They're going to chase for more as they take down the Hoodwink. Skyward running all the way back to the base. Bambi will make it out. Well, maybe. Yeah, he'll make it out. She's pretty quick.
Oh, the poor courier. Poor Benjaz. Benjaz's courier. The one thing he can't stone for him.
Yeah, I like the fact that it feels like every single game he gets this Wraith Pack drums and then just right into the Shard. And it's just like, the Shard doesn't really do anything outside of just giving you the active, which is kind of like just a get out of jail free card, but it works. It kind of just allows him to play so heavily on the front line, kind of just baiting in these fights. We'll see him doing exactly that. The whole spell kick comes out, but he doesn't get the Gravekeeper's Cloak off this time. And now Nango Flow, he does have an Aegis to play with. Dismar Blink Doom comes in, finds RRL. He's out, but there's going to be Eclipse from the Luna. The BKB already spent Spirit, will catch the Ember Spirit, and they manage to take a great fight on the side of 5ManMidas, as now they have to find more. Will they be able to get their hands on this Drow? He has a TP, but down with a really nice rotation up towards his own vision, so he should be fine.
Yeah, and you take a look at all of the vision placed, all of the kind of sight they had to make that team fight happen, but also the greed there, and just RRL having that Spirit immediately there with the Aether Remnant to get him on that Aegis respawn. He had BKB on Ember, but just couldn't actually get it off because the Chainstone was there. It's the perfect spear. That's the fight they were looking for, and did not think that was going to be the target that they found, especially because Dad doesn't have his BKB just yet, but they make it work, and that is a huge win for them. They encapsulate the entire map. It's a good, I want to say, 2,000 gold swing right off the bat, but even more so, they can actually farm now.
Yeah, that is exactly it, right? They're getting the D wards in their jungle. They're getting lanes pushed out. They're managing to pick up a lot of gold, right, that they were previously lacking. Right now, Raven's still definitely at the advantage, but this Luna, if she manages to actually progress, at this pace, she might be able to stay just a little bit too far ahead of the Drow. But we'll see. Drow going for her own BKB, like you said.
Well, that's the thing, right? You always need to stay ahead. As soon as the Drow catches you, the game is almost always over. That's where you kind of just have to say, okay, there's not much I can do at this point. And Argus, I think he actually has a crit stick coming out in the Courier, which is intriguing.
I like
of course,
it.
Level 20, right? You do kind of have the Shard back again, but this is, again, still the Shard build. This is pretty much item for item what you would do pre-patch. It's just not the same. I don't know. Rose-tinted glasses, perhaps, but I hope
like
it works out
still.
for him.
Yeah, I think it still works out pretty well. Like, the being able to just, like, when you have that 20 talent, it's just kind of like quality of life type of thing. Like, the Lucent Beam damage is, like, a little bit mediocre, but when you have this item, like a Chrysalis or a Daedalus, and you just Lucent Beam a support, there's like a legitimate chance that it just takes 75% of their health. Smoked up on the side of Ravens, looking to get aggressive here. They have the blink. The Doom is out once again. Nango Flow, of course, BKB is done. I think they finished the Drow BKB. They did, but she is currently showing top lane. And it's going to be Skyward that walks in, pops it. Nango Flow mid lane. Going to be forced to pop that BKB right away as the arena does come out. And they get RL on the Doom on the backside. He's going to be removed from this fight. And RG is going to be forced to just BKB TP on home.
I like the attempt. Even goes for that bird slam, just trying to get that TP. Playing your outs there, but
Yeah.
yeah, still able to find the Doom. I feel like 5ManMidas were really kind of happy with baiting it for a second there with Skyward running in, but then they're just unable to get the successful D ward. They lose that vision control, and then, I don't know, you just can't give them that high ground ward and then let your Void Spirit walk up like that. It's just not allowed. You can't just let Dismar find the Void Spirit so easily. And now, you know, it's still not the worst case scenario. Argus is still finding his farm, but I'm still waiting to see a little bit more, I think, from the Mars specifically here. He's working on his BKB, and then, sure, you can stay in the fight a little bit longer, but it's more so, I think he needs to start finding these supports a little bit more consistently, because the arena doesn't really matter for the Visage, the Drow, the Ember. The cores could care less.
Yeah, I do feel like the Vlad's like kind of has fallen flat for me this game. It doesn't really feel like it has had a lot of impact in these fights. Like he's still just dying so quick. Like the arena comes out and then he's pretty much just done. But I would have maybe liked to see just an earlier BKB. But if you wanted like damage of some kind, you could always go for that like Deso or Armlet build. But or just raw stats, right? Just get that extra bracer to go with it.
Yeah, I think purely it was just to buff up the Luna, which I guess, you know, when you feel like you're underneath a lot of pressure, you know, you go for more desperate moves, but it is great for the Luna. It gives him, you know, a little bit more damage to play around with, but at the same time, you know.
Oh, the bird! Oh. It catches Mars just barely in a nice gust there to try and set this one back. Sharpshooter comes through, does some work, but there's the arena now trapping them in place, but the BKBs come in response. Elias able to force staff himself out for the moment, but it's going to be RL on the backside trying to do what he can to take down Dismar. He will get it, but it's costing them so much. They've lost 2. RL falls anyway, so a 3-for-1. You don't have BKBs left on the side of 5ManMidas either.
Now you got to be so careful with how you approach. The Luna really can't walk up, and they don't have glyphs, so I feel like at the very least this should just be the tier 3 tower, but it is a free tier 3 tower. I feel like if they really want to push for it as well, this might just even be a lane.
All right, that's it. Free lane of barracks. Well, not entirely free, but, you know, they worked for it. They got themselves a first lane. And they're going to just continue to push themselves forward.
And it's the annoying lane to get as well, right? It's the lane that's always going to be pushing on the wrong side of the map, away from the pit. It's always a thorn in your side, especially 25 minutes in. It's not fun to play around, because now this makes Raven's Roche so much harder to contest, especially if you lose control of that outpost. Basically means that 5ManMidas cannot find control of that pit.
Yeah, not
Skyward, a little bit far forward here. They're trying to get some control of these supports, but again, without a Mars Blink, it's all up to the Void Spirit, and he's got to use at least 2 jumps.
That Sharpshooter did not do nearly as much damage as I would have expected, but of course, Wraith Pack plus Flamer Cape, pretty good. They find the Doom, the arena there. Big Eclipse coming through from the Luna as well. They're going to be able to grab both supports, but they need to get more. Will they be able to do it? They're chasing after Benjaz. He's still got that Gravekeeper's Cloak, but they don't have the Chain Stun. He's going to put himself down. Argus with the BKB. Skyward going to do the same, but Nango Flow able to chase him down. Gets him with the Sleight of Fist, but it's back onto the Visage. Drow just hitting the Bulwark here. Not doing a ton to this Mars. Can they finally bring down Benjaz? He gets away, but the Boomerang to finish him off, and now Dad's BKB expiring. 5ManMidas taking the dream fight for them as they manage to get 4. And an Arcane Rune's going to be spotted bottom lane.
And honestly, I feel like they should just turn around right into the pit. I feel like going for this tier 1. Yeah, let's go, boys. Yeah, they know as well that this tier 1 is not going to be the be-all, end-all, but that was just the perfect arena. They got the Doom before his BKB got out as well. Now they are putting themselves at a huge risk here, though, because they're going to get scouted by that Slight, and then this Doom could just spell disaster.
Oh, there it is, right onto the Luna. You called it. He's actually lifestealing a ton here, but can he do it? He actually does. The crit damage from the Luna actually allowing him to survive. He's got a lifesteal off Roche, you're right.
Oh no.
Skyward can't keep him alive. There's just nothing left. And now they look for Kara up onto the high ground. If you're Luna here, do you buy back and finish Roche?
No, I feel like now you just trust that your teammates can stall it out. It is only 4,000 HP, but...
Oh, Drow mid lane gets the hoodwink. RRL managed to get on top of Drow, but he's just alone. He doesn't have the damage to do this.
There's no BKB for 10 seconds on the Drow, but yeah, I think they have to go for the reset. And with Dad's BKB now coming back up, I feel like 5ManMidas might have just lost a little bit of an opportunity there. They had a little bit more vision. That Doom can't make that jump that easily, but, well, you've got 2 steps. You've got all the Void Spirit spells in a second here, but BKB's coming in.
They've got to do something. They have the vision. He goes in, snatched by the Drow, so she's going to be the big winner. The BKB comes out. RL trying to stand his ground. Shadow blades herself to safety. Can they take down the Visage? Gravekeeper's Cloak is available. The stuns are there. Lies walking in, gets the arena. The Spear's going to end up catching Doom as he blinks in. But they've managed to find the hoodwink on the backside. And they will be able to claim themselves another kill. That's going to be a dieback, actually.
Yeah, it's just not much that Lumi can do. Doesn't have a Force Staff. Doesn't have an Aether Lens either. He's just so close into the fight. Can't really survive in that kind of situation, but oh man, that just sucks. That was their big moment to turn this around. I think if they go immediately off of those kills, they just ended up hitting that tier 1 mid, I think, for just a second too long, and then the Doom, they have the vision, they have the lack of vision on the 5ManMidas side, and then everything just kind of goes in the other direction, because now the Drow has Aegis, and you've got this perfect position for Ravens to not necessarily win the game, but command from ahead, because now you just set the Drow in front. You can't afford to use any of your big ultimates on her anymore, so you have to consistently find that backline again, and without that, there's just no room for error anymore. You waste an arena on your side of the map, and you're suddenly going to lose another Rax.
Yeah, it was a decent attempt on the smoke there in the bottom lane, trying to find Argeus before he TP'd out, but good map awareness from him. Luna is still the highest net worth, but the gap between the other cores is starting to feel a little bit too much, right? RL, he's got himself the Kaya Sange. He does himself a decent amount of damage in these fights, but it feels like the Luna is really your only hope at this point in terms of actually being able to kill some of these heroes.
Yeah, and I do wonder, he's going for the Scotty next, which will certainly help him stay on the Drow, especially past BKB and Aegis. If you can get that dream situation where you save Dad for last, he will just die. And Dad is still pretty sizably behind Argeus. Like, you're level 18 Drow, you're still level 20 Luna, you just got that 20 town as well. And funnily enough, he didn't actually go for the Lucent Beam fired. Yeah, he went for the Lucent Beam damage. I think just knowing that if he's not unable to right-click, that I guess you just all in for the Eclipse, but it just means he's going to have to save that spell for so long after those BKBs are committed. I don't know. It's definitely a choice.
I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I feel like the Lucent Beam harass, especially if you're trying to defend high ground with those like glaives, is just really strong, but I don't know. He feels like like you said, he wants that extra damage for the Eclipse, maybe.
This'll come in handy.
It's definitely, I don't know. I don't want to say like an all-in, but it feels like he really is trying to use as much as he can, but I don't know. We'll see. It's also where finally we have the Blink Dagger from Wise. Want to see him get some type of big initiation. Dude, Nengoflo is just playing with his food.
Ember,
I don't know.
You might have played with the... Oh, no! Oh. Lumi just holding that sharpshooter way too long. That was the... What? He died to an impetus?
Don't be mad.
Yeah. Don't be mad.
Just... Okay. He got away, popped the regen, and then instantly died to an impetus at 350 pure damage. Wow, that is surprising.
Now,
Right. Ooh.
yeah, they're playing
Nice
with their
quick
pickoff.
jump there by Dismar, but they might find Kara. All right, he's able to dodge off it again, but there's going to be the dust. The enchant comes through. Dad's here on the Drow, thinking of going in, and he just gets the BKB right over the Mars. He's going to be forced to pop his own, so he won't have that for his second life.
No, and now you do kind of have to run away. They still don't get their opportunity to take out this mid tower, but I mean, pickoffs, they lead the farm. They lead you getting a few more levels. I mean, as long as these fights are taking the aggression away from their tier 3s, I feel like you're not too bothered. And I don't know, Ravens they're kind of letting up a little bit from their opponents here. The only thing I can like in Nengo Flow's play too is like it felt like an EE, right? Was that exactly an EE actually? I don't know. I got like flashbacks for a second there, some deja vu.
Yeah, kinda, huh? So the Scotty's done on Argus, and he queues up the Assault Cuirass. You do eventually need that bonus armor, okay? You can't just rely on base armor, especially against the Drow Ranger. And they're smoked up here on Ravens. Gonna walk right on in. Lies gets caught for the moment. The BKB comes through from both Nango's Flow and Dismar. Lies, he doesn't have one available. And now they're just trying to get away. Age is going to be reclaimed. Argus holding his ground. Going to be forced upon the BKB, but he's just disarmed for the moment. They do take down the Doom. There's going to be the Eclipse as they try to get on top of Benjaz, but there's going to be the Stone Form to protect him. And Kara comes in with the Freezing Field, just chewing right through the Void Spirit. Gets the Dissimulate away, but there's going to be the Drow. Able to slow them down just for a little bit in the Slight Chains. Catches the Luna, and Argus goes down without buyback as Skyward, the next target in their sights. He manages to take down the Ember. A lot of damage coming through from Skyward in these fights, but now gonna be able to just TP on home. He'll be safe. And Lumi trying to just pull this creep wave back a little bit. Gets a nice bushwhack. He actually doesn't have mana for TP. There it is. Finally gets that. Okay. I mean, a pretty chaotic fight. Ends up being a 2-for-2, a kind of even exchange, net worth and gold-wise. But you lost the Luna, and this is just one of those heroes that I feel like has to be on the map farming at all times now.
No, yeah. You have to kind of take a step back now and kind of check yourself. And with that, you know, you lose the Luna. Again, it's so far away from any objective that they don't feel confident enough. And without the Aegis on Dad, I mean, you're in that reset territory where we could just be looking at the next Roche.
The foolish will give chase.
Couple seconds before the Luna comes back up. See what they want to do with it. I imagine... Okay, he actually doubles back for the Aghanim Scepter instead of the AC. And I do like this decision more, considering you went the Lucent Beam damage talent. I guess that means you're going to go for the Eclipse Mini Stun talent as well. But you don't have, like, the Lucent Beam... Oh, you do have the Lucent Beam cooldown. Never mind. Okay, well... Yeah, maybe that's where they end up going with this. Just try and rely on, like, that orbital cannon of, like, the Eclipse being thrown from range. Or dropping on your Void Spirit as he, like, jumps in onto the backline, maybe.
Yeah, and, of course, you know, it is perfect. It's one of those things. I remember seeing people test it on the first day where it's like, you cannot blink. You also get a whole bunch of damage. I feel like as soon as you get the Ags, you probably get the Ags first, and then you get the Ag Shard after. Just because it, you know, literally is one Ags component. But, oh, that's perfect. Oh, no. Okay.
A little bit of a whiff there, but they still have enough stuns to bring him down. So, not too bad. It is also nighttime, of course, so, you know, Lunar Blessing damage global once again. Makes it a little bit scarier for the side of Ravens. Dude, this mid-tier 1 is still standing. That's 60 health. I mean, it's going to die now, but that's 60 health.
And it even gets taken down by Luminel. There's a little bit of gold in his pocket, but they've taken the control. Somebody does have to go back from 5ManMidas, though. The creeps are knocking on the door. This is an unfortunate timing, though. Roche just respawned now.
Yeah, they, wait a minute. The arena, it got tossed. Okay. Well, BKBs, I suppose, from both heroes. If they can take this fight, the Luna would be really happy. But a huge multi-shot in from Dad, just shredding them. And there it is. The Eclipse comes through, but the Luna absolutely destroyed by this Drow Ranger. BKB does not matter if you just have that physical damage, and they will just burn her down here on the Hoodwink. They managed to take 4 for 1. And like we said, tier 4 crumbling inside the base. Man, that is such a bad scenario there. They get the Drow BKB so early in the fight, but then she just has Blink, Force Staff, and a Silver Edge. So she just completely repositions herself and gets just the dream scenario of just being able to freely right-click the Luna in that fight.
Yeah, it's where on 5ManMidas' side, you so quickly have to decide, okay, we're fighting on the low ground, we got Drow BKB, we have something now that we can use to fight this next Roche for, and you either retreat to the high ground or you retreat to your ward to the left here, but instead they kind of make neither decision. They end up just fighting into what is Raven's team fight vision, and then suddenly the Doom lands, and then everything's blown wide open, because that's just, it's tough. It's really tough stuff. And now, with the Aegis, we're in that same situation we were not even 10 minutes ago, where 5ManMidas have to do everything and hope to find pickoffs to slow up the rest of the lineup, but they're doing 2 lanes at the same time. Feels a little bit greedy.
Wait a minute. They just speared him out of the sharpshooter. Okay. I feel like Lies could have just speared him into the tower he was next to, and then the sharpshooter does hit, and that might have been a kill otherwise. So maybe a little bit of miscommunication there from these players. But a 19k cold lead here for Ravens, it feels almost insurmountable. On the side of 5ManMidas, they've managed to hold out for now, but feels like it is going to be getting more and more difficult. You find Dismar Spear off the mark again here from Lies. He's going to be forced that BKB. Gets the Halberd off onto the Doom, and a perfect time sharp pushback there from Yumi will at least allow them to take down the Doom.
I mean, okay. Again, I feel like Ravens, at least with their high grounds, they have not been clean in the slightest. They've been giving off kills. They've been overextending. I mean, when they were hitting that mid tower, they had maybe the birds helping out slightly, but Dad was just in the top lane. It's not clean. This has not been, I think, the best way for them to use their lead, and it's just been giving 5ManMidas more and more of these openings, and they're smoking back to their ward that they placed. Gotta be really careful now. You would not want to lose your Aegis on the Drow for free, but even better vision placed now. I think Ravens are pretty aware of what's happening with the Luna hitting their top tier 1, but look at Kara. This would be a nice pick for RL.
He's going to try Lotus Orb, protecting him for the moment. Jumps in, misses on Remnant. Spear missing as well. And Lies even BKBing for this. I think he's just dead now. He's going to try, drops the arena to try and give him some space, but they just chew right through him. Multi-Shot does not care about the arena. While the Enchantress just bursted thanks to the Crystal Maiden. I think Lies, he's feeling the pressure. He just cannot connect on his spells now.
No, I feel like it's kind of back against the wall territory, and now you're the one that made an aggressive mistake, so now you've lost pretty much everything. You're going to get that backdoor ticking out from you in just a few moments here, and then suddenly this tier 3 is not going to last very long, and then once that's broken wide open, I mean, even Argus right now, I feel like he has to be so careful. If he gets his BKB forced out of him, that could just be the mega creeps right there, because he needs everything for this next team fight. But that's also where if he shows for too long, it's daytime. This is the worst case scenario. There's no vision advantage. Dismar can find the jump pretty much no matter what. Unless you're smoked on 5ManMidas, there's no way to approach this next team fight.
Absolutely not. And the thing is like the Luna can't even like drop the harassment with like the old shard, right? It's just Lucent Beam damage, which doesn't really matter all that much. Visage speared up against the wall. There's going to be a nice bushwhack as well. But your Mars just diebacking. Sharpshooter doesn't connect again, and that is just mega creeps. Very low commitment from Ravens once again, but they're just getting everything they want. They're also going to find RL here, but does get the dissimulate out. Dismar BKBing for this, looking for his Doom target. Argus trying to do what he can. A nice jump on in from the Void Spirit, but he just gets held in place thanks to the Crystal Maiden. He's going to buy back, but Benjaz, he's looking for more. His attention on the Enchantress here. A lot of magic burst damage, but it's just the multi-shot to finish him off. Nango Flow finally be forced to BKB, but he's got a refresher. He's going to pop that. And Hoodwink, you are alone, friend. The wrong neighborhood. And with that, GG comes out. Ravens take a very convincing game number 1 here over 5ManMidas.
Yeah, and of course, you know, it's tough to say whenever you get pretty much every single Roche very convincingly. There was one shot where I think maybe 5ManMidas, if they're just a little bit quicker with their decision making, they get that Roche instead, but it just ends up being too tight. They instead, by going for the Roche, hand it over to their opponents pretty much for free because they did all the legwork, and then suddenly the game just becomes a spiral. But It's also where we had a few more problems before that. Wise was really struggling. I can't agree with the item build. I understand why. I understand in a losing situation, 4K up from, by your opponents 15 minutes into a game, you're going to feel the pressure. You're going to feel like you need to do something, but I just feel like he was not a friend to RRL. Every single time RRL sticking his neck out so far to make something happen, to fish for anything, but your Void Spirit, you have 2 leaps. You have, once you use your mobility to get in, unless you're using your Dissimulate to get out, you're just dead. And that's just what happened over and over and over again. And I mean, even looking at RL's item build, he's got this Kaya Sanj, and then he went back for his own Lotus Orb just to have something casual to dispel. We just didn't have a core on our team. And I think that's where 5ManMidas really kind of started to fall apart there. I think they lasted a lot longer than I think most people expected. The game still
Yeah.
did drag out and kind of typical Ravens fashion. They like to play for the Roche as opposed to just ramming their heads with their lead. But at the same time, you do what you got to do. And I think coming into the next game, see if Luminel takes a break and we get our other player back, see if Feeling G's feeling it, or I don't know. You just got to clear your head somehow.
Yeah. It was definitely a rough game for Midas. It didn't really come together for them. It just seemed like they were constantly on the back foot and kind of all eggs in this Luna basket. But meanwhile, Ravens have a really strong tri-core, even in like a semi-core out of the Doom as well, who just managed to find a ton of farm this game. So yeah, really well played by Ravens once again, seemingly the strongest team so far that we've seen in this tournament. But we're gonna go to a short break and we'll be back with game number 2. Again, it's Ravens versus 5ManMidas here on the BTS Pro Series Season 12. We'll see you in a bit.